Woo-wee. That's gonna look so nice. All right, let's wrap it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so that you can be notified when we post a new video. Levi here at Hammerfab. We're ready to do some seat mods here, or finish out some of the seat work here on our 66 GMC truck. So, buddy of mine, Jay Schluter, covered this seat for me. This is an original 66 GMC bench seat that's been modified, so the foam has been redone and carved to shape, and then we came up with this really cool plaid pattern that's all stitched in there. And then I designed these seatbelt pass-throughs for the 5-point racing harness, so one to go down here between your legs, and then this one was supposed to be the one for the belts going over your shoulders, but ended up not working out height-wise for the design to actually be positioned correctly for comfort and safety over your shoulders. It was a little too low on your back, so what we decided to do was an extra bar, a roll cage bar going right across the top of the seat, and then that puts the seat belts where they're coming in the correct position over your shoulders. So these upper bezels ended up just being kind of a cosmetic cool factor to match these down here. So we had some prototypes made a while back. They're 3D printed out of PLA, and they worked good. They served their purpose for getting the initial design figured out, but the upholsterer guy set the seat out in the sun one day to kind of tighten up the leather and everything, and the sun, just the heat from the sun, melted the PLA plastic. So it's not good enough for final use, but good enough for prototyping. You can see how they're all warped and everything. Now I'll show you one that's not warped. This one here is the exact same file that we used to print that one as we did this one, but this one is 3D printed using a different technique. This is printed using SLS, selective laser sintering, out of a better, more durable, heat resistant material. This is nylon. That's why it's white in color. That's the natural color of nylon. And so it's still flexible, but it won't warp in the heat of the sun like that did. And so this turns out actually creates a lot smoother finish in the end. I mean, if we wanted to, we could just lightly sand this and paint it, be ready to paint. But I decided that I want to leather wrap these instead. So we've got plenty of extra leather for this seat. And so this is the exact same part, nylon part. And all we did was put some glue on it and wrap it. Didn't sand it or anything. And it turned out really nice. So we're going to show you guys how we wrap these, so stay tuned. And then we're going to mock one up in the seat, well, probably maybe a couple of them up, so that you can get a final result. So here we go. Alright, some of the tools we're going to need here to wrap this 3D printed bezel in leather are contact adhesive for Landau top foam. That's like the best stuff right there, man. It's really sticky. And so we'll apply some to this part and some to the leather, and then slowly wrap the leather on there. We've got this nifty little edger here. I don't know what you call it. It's just kind of a tool for rubbing and getting the leather down in those creases and smoothing it out. This is not a cutting tool. This is just a application tool. And then we've got some really nice Weiss scissors. These are for leather only. We've got a little chalk roller here. So what that does is lays out chalk, so the chalk easily comes off. Flat blade screwdriver for getting this open. I've got another screwdriver here, but I'm not using it as a screwdriver. I'm only using it for this smooth shaft here. And so once we get the glue in there, we'll use that to conform. It helps us kind of roll the leather down in that groove like so, so it's real nice and tight down in there. And then we got an application brush. So next we need to kind of rough cut a piece of leather. We need to make sure that we got plenty. We want to start with a wide enough piece and a long enough piece, and then we'll wrap it around there dry before we put any glue on it and make sure that it fits, and then we'll start applying the glue. So I've got a lot of extra leather left over, and you might be wondering why. Well, part of the reason is you always want to make sure you get enough leather at the beginning of a job, because leather is made in what they call dye lots. And so the leather is actually dyed and the texture is applied in big lots. So they take a whole bunch of hides and do them all exactly the same. And then once they do, I don't know, 50 or 100 of those hides, then they reset their tooling or whatever they do, and they might do blue hides one day and red hides the next day and brown hides the next day. And so anyways, this particular style they might do again in a month or so, but that dye lot won't be exactly the same as the one they did a month ago. So you want to make sure that you get plenty of hides that all come from the same dye lot in order to ensure that your interior matches. And so what you end up with is sometimes guessing how many square footage of leather you need, because some of the leather isn't even usable. Some of it is just kind of garbage. It's got scars in it, or it's really tough and not flexible. So you need to make sure you get enough that you have plenty to waste. And then sometimes we end up with extra. So in this situation, we got plenty to do these little seat surrounds. And then I probably even have enough to do some kick panels and stuff if I want later. So we got plenty to mess with here. So now what I'm looking for is some irregular tails on these hides. You know, if I was to unroll this whole thing, it's basically like half a cow. And so what we're going to do is just kind of cut this off. And I think that'll be plenty. Actually, I might kind of come over here to make sure I get that long enough. This is just a rough cut. I don't have to follow the line perfectly. So in the end, this part, I tried wrapping this part with one piece of leather and just kind of smushing it down in there and cutting the middle and wrapping it, but the leather wouldn't do it. So one of the downsides of genuine leather is it doesn't stretch as good as like vinyl. Vinyl material stretches a lot better, but it doesn't look as good, doesn't smell as good, doesn't feel as good. So we got genuine leather here, so we have to kind of plan it out how you're going to wrap this part. Now you could put a stitch in it somewhere if you wanted to do it out of one piece that has a seam in it, but I decided to do it out of one piece, but it does have to have a seam in it. But I'm not going to have a stitch in it, just a seam that's basically invisible. So you got to figure out where you want that seam. So I want the seam to be right in the top, because when you're looking in there, the only place you're likely to see that seam would be right here. You're never really going to see it up there. So you don't want to put the seam down here, because you'll always be able to see that. So you got to think out where you want that seam. Now we're going to kind of just lay this in here. Now let's cut this. Let's just cut this in straight, and then we're going to put that. That's going to be where our leather starts. But now I don't want to start it exactly where I want the seam. I'm going to overlap it and make it long so that the leather starts there, and I'll show you how we trim that later. So now we want to kind of just wrap it around inside there. Like that. And actually, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I'm just going to cut this in one long strip. Well, I don't need the whole thing. Okay, so now I've got basically a long rectangular-ish kind of strip. It's pretty consistent. The pattern is pretty consistent the whole way. So you don't want, sometimes you don't want to get stuff on the very end of the hide because it'll look weird. Okay, let's do that one more time just to make sure. Now we want our seam in the middle, but I'm going to start over here. And then we want to kind of loop it around the inside. Like that. There, and then you pull it tight in the corners and make sure that you got enough everywhere. So I think that's going to work. We can probably start gluing. So it's kind of like wrestling an alligator at this point. There's no sense in trying to get it to fit any better than that at this point. You just need to start gluing it and sticking it down. Yeah. Alright, so now we're going to open the glue. This stuff, usually you spray this stuff, but I don't want spray everywhere, so you can apply this stuff with a brush. It's a lot less messy that way. So this stuff dries pretty quick, but you don't want to, you want to apply it fairly wet, but then you need to give it about 5 minutes to kind of cure before you start sticking the pieces together. So
like allow it to get tacky.
Yeah, allow
itself.
it to get tacky, and then stick them together. That's the way it works the best. If you stick a wet glue to wet glue, it doesn't stick. So what we're going to do is just apply a thin layer of this all the way around here. Well, yeah, we'll do this whole thing, and then we'll only do part of the leather, and I'll show you why. So we'll get this thing coated pretty good all the way around. Get it down in that crack real nice and good, because that's going to be the most likely place to come loose, right in there. So we're going to get plenty of glue in there. So I'm not going to do the backside yet. I'm only going to do these outer surfaces. You don't want glue everywhere. You don't want too much everywhere. It'll end up so sticky and you'll have stuff stuck to things you don't want it stuck to. Once this stuff sticks down, it's really hard to peel it off without destroying stuff. So you want to make sure you get it stuck right the first time. I mean, if you do peel it up, you need to peel it up right away. Don't wait for it to dry and then decide to peel it up, because it doesn't work out real good that way. Okay, so there's that. We got the whole front face of that inside all coated with a thin layer of glue. That's good to go. We're going to let that kind of set over here for a second and dry. And then now on this, we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to coat the whole thing. We're just going to coat the very center of it for right now. And then once we get it stuck, then we'll start coating the edges. That'll make it less likely to stick in places we don't want it to stick. See, you can kind of see the leather absorbs some of that glue, so sometimes you need a little bit extra on there. We don't want it outside of it. We want it sticky enough. So it's actually here. Okay. Now, I'm just going to set this on there so we don't dry out our glue. Okay, now see it's shiny? You just want to wait until it's not shiny. Just give it a couple minutes. Its fumes are evaporating as we speak. Okay, so then we're going to let that kick for a second. That's probably good enough for that one. See, this one's dry enough where I can touch it and not get stuck to it. That's about what you want. But you don't want to wait too much longer than that. Okay, now we're going to start. What I'm going to do is kind of roll this up, I think. Like that. So it can't stick to itself. Now I want this edge, not in the middle, but overlapped in the middle slightly. And then I want about the same overhang on both sides, and then stick it down. Okay, now we're going to kind of unwrap it. You don't really want it to all stick to itself. Now you can kind of just let it hang out there like that. And now we're going to work it from one side to the other. Okay, now right here, you want to kind of stretch the leather when it gets to that corner. Now we're going to use that screwdriver and kind of get it up in that corner. Okay, so we've already got a little bit of a situation here. I'm going to have to put some more glue on the leather right there. Right down in there. We're ready for more glue. Just on the leather. Okay. Now let it go stretch a little bit, so we want to make sure that leather doesn't go that direction. Because the entrance, because this corner is an angle, so we want to make sure that enough leather on both sides of everything still. Okay, now I'm going to slice this corner just a little bit. So you don't want to slice it too much, because we got to make sure we got enough to wrap that corner. So I'm just going to slice that, and that relieves that just a little bit. I can probably go a little bit more. Not much. Alright, let's finish wrapping some of this here. Alright, now what we want to do is glue all the way around those edges. And around the back side a little bit. Once the leather gets wrapped around that edge, there's no way it's coming off of there. Or better work for a little part, huh?
Yeah.
That's if you get it right the first time. Sometimes you have to redo it. So now, I'm not going to do the back side yet, we're just going to do the front. Okay, so now, what you want to do is you just pull out and then straight up, straight up, out, straight up. And we're stretching it tight on the inner face there. We just want it to stick to that face right now. Okay, so I'm going to pull this corner here first, out. Kind of got to work it because it didn't want to go. You don't want wrinkles in that corner. Just kind of got to pull and massage it back and forth until it gets stuck down. See here, see there? We don't want, I'm trying to avoid wrinkles in that corner. Okay, now pull and stick, pull, stick, pull, stick. Make sure you don't have any major wrinkles. Okay, in this corner here, we've got to stretch that leather. And it doesn't want to stretch. Pull, and kind of work it into that corner. There, now if it's a little loose looking in there, take this screwdriver right there. Really work it in that corner. Okay, now once you get it over that, then it's easy. Okay, then you just work it a little bit of time. Now that's where this guy comes in handy. You can just kind of use it for smushing it down without cutting the leather. Still don't like that. That's a little too wrinkly looking. Okay, now that corner right there doesn't need that much leather, so we're going to get rid of, if we get rid of some of that, it makes it easier to wrap around that corner. Okay, now you just kind of smush it around the corner. I'm going to take this, really set it down in that groove. Okay, now here it's overlapping, okay? That's what we wanted. Now we're going to draw, we're going to kind of eyeball where the center of this is. Of course, I think I got to have it a little bit offset because I messed up a little bit. But I don't want to. So I'm just kind of getting that chalk line close to where it needs to be. Now we're going to slit it right there with a really sharp razor blade. I'm going to cut through both layers of leather. Nice straight line. Okay. Now we gotta make sure we cut down through that. See, this one's still folded up because there's no glue on it yet. So this rear bezel is also 3D printed, and it's designed in such a way that there can be I'm probably going to make a panel to cover the back of the seat and wrap it in leather, and then these will get sandwiched the same way these do, and basically pull it all together. But I think I can reuse the back ones. See, so these, when I printed those, they were actually like that tall, but they were designed in such a way that they could be chopped down to work with whatever thickness. So this should just pop right out of here. Oh, see, drill it first, but let's see if it'll go in there real quick. It's like mounting a tire. This is like ridiculous. Dang, I might have to. So that's where like this little tool comes in handy, I think. Well, it looks good from here, but what I don't like is right there. You can, if you're looking down, you can see that glue in there, and you can see that gap. All right, so we got that wrapped, and I got the bezel, the keeper bezel on the back. It closed up that gap on top pretty nice. I think after it's used a little bit, it'll close up even more. You can still see a little bit of it, but not too much. So we drilled and tapped the back. Now I'll show you how we do that. So here's a tap. It's a spiral tap. So the spiral tap tends to work a little bit better on this nylon because it gets the chips out quicker. So I designed the part with the proper hole diameter to work with this tap. So then you just start it, make sure it's straight, and then you can see it's already cranking the chips out. You can see the tap going through the nylon. See it on the side there? See how it's darker right here? You could potentially still break a tap, so be careful coming out. And once it starts getting easier, then you can start spinning it. But it makes real nice threads. The nylon holds really nice threads. It's kind of hard to see, but there's some core 20 threads in the nylon. We got a good fan going over here, man. It's hot. It's supposed to tell me that.
It's supposed to tell you what?
It's supposed to tell me turn the fan
Turn
on.
the fan off?
It's humid as all get out in here. If you guys want exclusive content with no commercials, you need to sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/Hammerfab will get you the best video content, mainly video stuff right now. But if I can find some time, I'm gonna get some digital booklets made up on how to do certain things. And so for a monthly subscription, you guys can have, well, if you sign up for tier 4, you can have all of that for a monthly fee. Yeah, here's a before and after of our PLA mock-up bezel. These were printed from the same file. So you can see how much the sun, just the heat from the sun, warped this one. It's not a very good durable plastic, but this nylon one is. So this is like your home printer. This is a $500,000 printer. Big difference. That's what you know. Now watch. See if I'm trying to watch it now. I guess it's probably improved. Pretty good guess, huh? Good. Loosen up. Alright, just gonna be out of face for a second. I'm ready to back. I'll let it back a couple seconds. And then I'm going to do this in the middle of this curve piece. I'm just going to put some on the middle. Yeah. start middle time, center on the edge. Okay, so let that check up different. Okay, I want to do here is check up real general center line there. So that's what I want to line up right here in the center. Okay, now okay, roll this up. Now let's make sure I get on the right direction. I think that's this direction. Yeah, that's the right direction. Okay, center line, right there. Now we're going to sneak it down here. Ah. Like that. Now I'm going to start working. Okay. Again, you got to get the wrinkles out of it. Take 2, unwrapping the small seatbelt bezel. This was take 1. Didn't turn out like we planned. So we got a fresh piece of leather here. We need to re-glue the plastic here. Let it set up a little bit, and then we'll start a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to start putting the leather on there this time. I'm not going to trim it as close to the last time so we get big, so I get stuff under it. Then trim it out. Alright, I'm just going to put a little bit and then on leather. Look at that, that's kind of nice. That's right here, that's where we're going to nice. Okay, got one there. Alright, okay, one side back, some glue on it. Alright, now some glue on that car. Alright, that's what I have. Good. Yes. I think crank me a little bit more. So. Alright, check this. Yeah, that's nice.
Seems like this app's gonna work. A lot of patience.
I want you to zoom in. Okay. Good, section there.
To me.
Okay, now that. I want you too much up there. Up and glue it there. I'm gonna wrap it up. This one's got a little better long reach in it. Okay, now this is going to turn out better than last time. So I've got it right in the middle, pressing hard. I want to go through both layers of leather, all the way into the plastic. And then follow it around here, all the way around to there. And then follow it all the way around there. Boom. Now that one's out of the way. Now you peel this second one up, just temporarily, to expose the underlying one. And if you cut all the way through it, you might want to just go over it gently. Make sure you got all the way through it. Okay, now we're getting rid of that one, and we're going to transplant it with this one, but we got to put some more glue on it. You really want to make sure that it's got plenty of glue right next to that seam. Okay, now we're ready to, we're going to kind of make sure that the corners stretch real good. Get the stretch marks out of it. Now we're going to line up that seam ever so gently. Pull it into place so that it's seamless. Like that. Work that seam around there. There's a little bit of a seam there, but you gotta have a seam somewhere. A little bit of glue right there. I need to get off with some mineral spirits. Okay, we got some mineral spirits here. So if you're worried about it, you can try it on a test piece. Sometimes mineral spirits will draw out the dye in the leather. So you might want to try it in an inconspicuous area first. But it looks like this one's going to be okay. It's pretty tough. So we're just going to use it to get that glue off in there. Glue and handprints and dirt and stuff. Man, that turned out really nice, but man, that was a real booger. Leather wrapped, one piece. Technically it's one piece, but it does have a seam there. So I'm gonna tighten this up here a little bit around that corner. Really want to lock it down in that little groove, that way there's no chance it can come loose from that. Looks pretty sweet, I think. I'm glad I decided to leather wrap them instead of paint them. I really like that. Bam! Sweet! Upper and lower are done. Get the seatbelt right through there. This one's just going to be for looks, but grab them like this.